Hi, everybody. Welcome to our very first episode of Progressive Pro-Life 101. My name is Caroline Smith. I'm the Director of Public Relations at the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. I'm here with my colleague Lauren Handy, who will introduce herself soon. I'm very excited about tonight. You are going to be getting a comprehensive training on how to defend the preborn in your community. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lauren to introduce herself and get us started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Handy. I'm the Director of Activism for the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. I have been sidewalk counseling, reaching out to abortion-minded families out in front of abortion facilities for 10 years now. My work has spanned across 32 states, and I have literally gone outside hundreds of abortion facilities. And it is through this years of experience and watching people, how they sidewalk counsel and watching how sidewalk counseling manifests differently in each community. Over the years, it has shaped my understanding of how we are able to effectively reach out to these abortion-minded families, abortion-targeted women and parents going in. And that's how this has been created, accumulation of the wisdom. I've been very blessed and lucky to be able to sidewalk counsel with people who've literally been sidewalk counseling since the 70s. And so I've been trained by the best of the best, and now we want to bring that wisdom to y'all.
All right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. This is our presentation, Progressive Pro-Life 101, Sidewalk Counseling as Community Defense. So we're going to be learning about a couple different areas that we have found really helpful to understand in our sidewalk outreach. We're going to work on creating a strong foundation of understanding crisis intervention and community defense, and also learn how to adapt it to your community's unique needs, because every city is different, every sidewalk is different, so it's important to learn how to adapt it to your city.
So to take it a step back, who is PAAU? Because we might be having some new people. Here at PAAU, our mission is to achieve socio and political justice for the preborn by mobilizing anti-abortion activists for direct action and opposing elective abortion through a progressive lens. We're almost 2 years old now, or we just turned one. No, we're a little over 1 year old now, and most people know us for the Justice for the Five campaign and the different outreaches that we've been doing in front of the Supreme Court, abortion facilities, inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
So to avoid burnout and because a lot of things can happen on the sidewalk, to be realistic, a lot of different things can happen. And we have to have these guiding principles of who we want to be when we are out on the sidewalk, for when those moments of tension happen, or when those unexpected moments when our ethics, morals, and everything like that is called to question. So here at PAAU, and what we encourage others, we are committed to a progressive feminist values of equality, nonviolence, and non-discrimination through an anti-capitalist lens. And to break it down even further, we personally believe in building unity through diversity. And what does that look like on the sidewalk when we're out in front of the abortion facilities and businesses reaching out to these abortion vulnerable women and parents and families? We believe in LGBTQ inclusivity, ecumenism. Yeah. So not that whole Baptist Protestant versus Catholicism, because we also believe in secular approaches. So we do believe in the universal respect for different approaches, but also that universal respect for the differences in the people that you work with. I have sidewalk counseled with people with Sidewalk Advocates for Life. I've sidewalk counseled with people with Abolish Human Abortion. I've sidewalk counseled with people who have no affiliation, who are just, regular everyday folks like, Mr. Chris from Louisiana, who's been sidewalk counseling longer than I've been alive, and, he doesn't have any affiliation. And so I've really learned that, even if someone's sidewalk counsels or reach outs to these abortion-minded families completely different than me, we still have to have that underlying respect that through our diversity, that is actually a strength rather than a hindrance. And, throughout the presentation, we'll also be going on to like how to deal with when people do things differently, how can we work through those issues. And lastly, and most importantly, we are fully and unequivocally committed to nonviolence in everything we do. And we have a moral, ethical, and practical obligation to nonviolence in our work and our personal lives. We believe abortion is murder. We are not afraid to say that abortion is murder, but we do not mirror the injustice when we end the injustice. So why sidewalk counseling? It's very simple, actually. These abortion businesses, this is the last line of defense. A child's literally going in to be murdered. Their family members, the mother is going in. She's going to be exploited by this abortion industrial complex. Because we view this through an anti-capitalist lens, we do believe the abortion industry is exploitive. And so we encourage people to look more at our website and see how that evolves in our work and in our beliefs. But in general, the abortion industrial complex is the overlapping interests of government and industry, and they use fear, isolation, and violence to pressure these people into abortion. And I think it's important to understand how they use fear, isolation, and violence, because then it shows how we can combat that. And that is through solidarity, mutual aid, and community. And, we have come to, through these years of experience, that sidewalk counseling is basically, and what we want to be able to explain to y'all, the practical knowledge of how to reach out to abortion seekers. And we've been able to categorize it in 3 different areas: crisis intervention.
So we're going to be going through each of these. Crisis intervention, which is basically what it sounds like. It is finding immediate and short-term emergency responses to the person that is there seeking an abortion. And the ultimate goal is to divert them somewhere else, whether that is for them to just simply go home because they've changed their mind, whether that's for them to go to a crisis pregnancy center or one of the other resources that we're going to talk about, but intervening with the crisis that is happening on the sidewalk. Community defense, we're also going to talk about, but as a community and in each of your communities, we have a responsibility to our preborn neighbors. And so this looks like a lot of different things that we'll go into later, but it's a really important concept to understand. And then we're also going to talk about preventative outreach, which is also basically self-explanatory. There's a lot of stuff, events and things that can happen on the sidewalk on days when abortions are not happening. We'll learn about some different examples of that later, but it's really important to understand that it is necessary to be defending our preborn neighbors, even when it is not an abortion day, or if you don't live in a state where abortion is legal. So we'll go through all of these things later.
And why we have 3 different avenues is because I have a lot of people over the years have come up to me saying, I don't know if I can talk to these moms, or I don't know if I can do the mushy 101 emotional stuff, or I don't know if I want the high pressure anxiety of, being actually out there on a killing day. And I personally believe that every single person can be part of sidewalk counseling. Every single person can be part of sidewalk outreaches. You can just find what best fits your personality, your personal gifts, your vocation, your calling, and find out where you can best fit. And so with these 3 different avenues, you can learn about and find out, actually, I think I want to be more involved with the community events versus the crisis intervention.
Mm-hmm. So the first topic we're going to be going into is crisis intervention. So this might be what you would more typically think of as sidewalk counseling. It is one area that is very, very important. So this is, like I said, addressing somebody's needs in an immediate emergency situation when they are literally walking into an abortion business to have an abortion. So we're going to go through some practical tips and the theory around this to get you more comfortable with doing crisis intervention.
So where do I fit in? There are so many ways to sidewalk counsel. And I am personally of the belief that there's no one wrong way. I truly believe that. I have literally seen everything and then some out on the sidewalk. And I have seen lives saved in every different way. And so where do you fit in? There's different times. Signs or no signs. Do we use signs during our outreach? Do we not use signs? Do we do something that's maybe a little more controversial? Use victim imagery. The Chicago method. The Chicago method was, developed by Eric Scheidler and Dr. Monica Miller in the 80s, where they specifically went and got every single lawsuits, all the lawsuits related to the abortion business. And when people were going in, abortion seekers were going in, they would specifically hand them those lawsuits and say, this place is very dangerous. Sidewalk Advocates for Life, they take the approach with focus on the mom. And it's just how can we meet those needs? What can we do? You see the little bags that they give out, the free ultrasound signs. You have the focus on the baby, where it's just don't hurt your baby today, or your baby's heart's beating, your baby loves you. Then you have chalking, sidewalk chalking, and then demonstrations with various signs, backing up to signs. And then, of course, you have people who do religious appeals as well. And all of these I have seen work. I have seen every single one of these work. I have seen, and we're going to have to address the elephant in the room, the use of victim imagery outside abortion facilities. I've seen people use it and not use it. And, they both work. They both work when it's used strategically and respectfully. And there's different ways you can integrate victim imagery within your sidewalk counseling that doesn't have, the cliche response of people running inside, scared and not wanting to talk to you. I think one of the best examples, his name is, everyone calls him Uncle Don, because he's literally saved thousands of babies. And, I didn't know about using victim imagery within sidewalk counseling. And he sidewalk counsels in Northern Virginia. He's been sidewalk counseling for 30 plus years as well. And I saw how he used victim imagery, very sensitive, very respectful and strategically. And it really changed my mind. And so we'll be going over that as well. So basically, crisis intervention, providing that emotional and financial support, referrals to abortion-minded and post-abortive families. To put it down, crux it down to one sentence: identify the reason they are seeking the abortion, explain what we can offer, then create an appropriate plan of action. How does this realistically look like? So I have someone coming in, I say, there's free help for you and your family. What can I do for you today? How can I help you? What's going on? And they say, look, I'm living on my couch, my family's couch. I can't have a baby, and I can't raise a baby on my dad and mom's couch. And you can click, okay, there's maternity homes. We can get you housing vouchers. How can I help you with getting housing secure? And, that in the DC area is one of the biggest reasons why abortion seekers are seeking out this procedure, because of housing insecurity in the DC DMV area. And so then we tell them that, cancel your appointment today. Let's meet up for lunch, help you go over some housing options. But first, we got to get down our strong foundation. You don't want to go out there not knowing where anything is, because if someone's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to talk to you. Where's the nearest crisis pregnancy center? So you have to know get the dirt on your local abortion business. You got to find out about the facility and the abortionist. And the best way to do that, there's the largest database on the internet right now, is abortiondocs.org. It tells you who the abortionist is. It tells you if there's any current or ongoing or past malpractice lawsuits, or if there's been any deaths. You want to memorize those key facts. We'll go down later in the presentation of some of those key facts, but definitely, like when those baby hearts beats, 21 days, and like little phrases that you can keep in the back of your mind, because as you go along, and even 10 years down, sometimes I get nervous and freeze up, and I'm like, what do I say? It's just I have those key memorizing facts that I can lean back on. And you want to know how the clinic or the business works. You want to know when the abortion days are. I mean, there is value to go on non-abortion days, but you definitely want to be out there on abortion days. And you want to know when they start. So, for example, at the DC Planned Parenthood, Wednesday through Saturday are the procedure days. And Thursday is the late term procedure days, past 12-week abortions. And so, on Wednesday, even though it's Wednesday through Saturday is a procedure days, Wednesday you can get out there at 10 a.m. and still be able to sidewalk counsel. But on Thursday, because it's a later term procedure days, you have to get that out there between 8:30 and 9:30, because by 10, everyone is already in. So there's different ways you can find out how the clinic works. Going online, they usually post their schedules, but that's for a different discussion. You want to know where the closest crisis pregnancy center, pregnancy resource centers are, because that's where you will be diverting these abortion seekers to, so they can get the materials they need to choose life. And then the PLAT, the plat maps. The plat maps are vital. You have to have your plat map. I cannot explain how important this is. Why does this matter? Well, first of all, what is the plat map? The plat map is a map of the property to show you where public property begins and where private property ends and begins. You need to know where you can stand and where you can't stand. Why? It gives you confidence. Where you can stand, because the abortion facility and the abortion escorts, and sometimes even the police, they will lie to you. They will say, oh, you have to stand across the street. Oh, you have to stand down there. Oh, you can't stand over here. You need to know where the plat map is so you can have the confidence to say, actually, I can stand here. Because here's the thing, every inch counts. Every inch counts. Because, at the DC Planned Parenthood, it's not like this for everywhere, but in Washington, DC, public property ends right at the front door. Can you imagine? I know I've sidewalk counseled in places where if I had to stand on the public sidewalk and like call out across a wide parking lot. But at the DC Planned Parenthood, I can walk with the abortion seeker all the way up to the door. So this helps you with strategic planning, basically, to know where you can and cannot stand. How do you find the plat map? You Google the name of the city and literally the word plat map. It's very simple. And then it will tell you how to go through the process to be able to get those. Up above on the screen is an example of the DC plat map. You got to learn how to read it as well, because sometimes it can be confusing. But here's a picture of, also right beside it, the DC Planned Parenthood. And you can literally go all the way up to the top step. And every single one of that was hard earned. I had to really go at it with the police and the lawyers, because it doesn't look like private. It looks like private property, and they would lie to people. And I'm like, I have the plat map, I have the proof. And we need each of those seconds to be able to try to get literature or resources into these parents' hands. So what do I give out? That's the big question. You gotta do a little more research. You really want to be able to connect these families to the local community resources. Where is that emergency shelter and housing? Where are those local crisis pregnancy centers or pregnancy resource centers? You want to know where that rape crisis counseling office is, or where people can go if they're suffering from intimate partner violence. And you do want to have a general idea of, the government assistance programs. People need help. People need these social safety nets. We are in a time of hyperinflation. People cannot afford their groceries. And it's very cruel to expect people who are in poverty and very vulnerable situations to not need that help. And, oftentimes there's also church programs that can help. Some people don't want to do government assistance programs, and that's fine too. And that's where the church can come in as well. There's a lot of programs that churches can provide help. And one of the big problems that we're seeing in the South, especially in the South and in the DC area, actually, I'm going to pull back across the board in our medical system in America. We're seeing across the board Black, Indigenous, people of color who are experiencing pregnancy. These mothers are at a high risk of dying in pregnancy, and they have 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. That is a valid fear. And when you are outside the abortion facility and someone comes up to you and they're like, well, I'm afraid I'm going to die in childbirth. I'm really scared. I can't do this. That's why it's important to also know where your local doula programs are. Doulas can bridge the gap that oftentimes we are seeing in our medical system, where these Black moms are falling into and not experiencing the best healthcare that they can for them and their child. And, here's my top 2 favorite that I have to give a shout out to: optionline.org, letthemlive.org. Optionline.org, I use that extensively in my sidewalk counseling. And it is a national database where they literally just put their zip code in, and it sends them to the closest, pregnancy resource center that they give the zip code to. Here's some examples of what we give out, how people have given out. Melanie, she likes to give the little the handbags. We give out our little pamphlet that we've designed. Human Life Alliance. Human Life Alliance has some really awesome handouts. We also, when we Sidewalk Council, we put all of our handouts in a little waitress bag.
Apron.
And a little apron. It keeps it all in one place, and I can grab it. So that's your little tip for the day. So I know that I can just immediately hand something over. It's always good to have Spanish literature as well, or if there's ethnic community, their Human Life Alliance has multiple translations in their literature as well. You want to, once again, when you're doing this research, going back to the Chicago method, learn the history of botched abortions and medical malpractice lawsuits. One of the big things that get people to stop and talk to us outside of DC Planned Parenthood, and as I bluntly say, this place has sent a lot of people to the hospital. This place is dangerous. They are averaging 1 to 3 medical malpractice lawsuits every year. And that's not a lie or an exaggeration. When I looked up the documents, out of my mind shocked. And remember, you can go to abortiondocs.org, find out that information. But it's just so important. And not only that, if you are sidewalk counseling and the worst happens and you see that ambulance come out, please, you have to record what's happening. You want to record the time, the date, and what is happening. Take some pictures, take some videos, because we need to document these cases. You can send them to abortiondocs.org or the new organization called Reprotection, because we need to have this database of information out there on what the abortion businesses are doing to the community. So here's some examples of signs and chalking and different props you can use during sidewalk counseling. We do a lot of chalking. People are on the sidewalk, and this is for the neighbors and the community surrounding, and then of course for the people going in to read as well. We have at the top right above me an example of a lower level way of introducing abortion victim imagery into your sidewalk counseling efforts. You know, we've used it probably 4 or 5 times now, and nobody's run screaming in. Nobody has like cussed us out. Well, it cussed us out just in general, but not specifically for the imagery, and it's worked very well because it's accurate. It shows prenatal development, and it's a good introduction to using victim imagery in it. So let's say you want to do more victim imagery in your sidewalk counseling. Once again, here at PAAU, we believe in using victim imagery strategically and respectfully. And so how would that look like? So in the middle, in the green area, that's where you would have your sidewalk counselors or your prayer or sign support. The pink areas is necessary. So farther away from the door, that's where you would have the prenatal babies or the text signs. And then even farther away, that's where you would have the pictures of the victims. You wouldn't necessarily put the pictures of abortion victims right where you are standing, because that it does create a wall between you and this person you're trying to speak to. So if you do choose to use pictures of abortion victims, up to you. You don't have to. That's how I personally would suggest using, by putting them on the outskirts of your outreach area. As a side note, you know, a lot of different communities respond really well to seeing pictures of abortion victims. And during my time with sidewalk counseling in San Bernardino, California, the director of the Pregnancy Resource Center in Los Angeles sent out a memo to people asking us to use pictures of abortion victims. She said the Latino and Hispanic population respond to seeing pictures of abortion victims. And we're like, okay, let's try it out. And it was night and day in our outreach. We were seeing 5 to 8 people choose life every week when we integrated strategically and respectfully pictures of abortion victims. And so there's a time and place and manner for everything. Follow your gut. Trust your people, see what works best. So getting down to the nitty gritty once again, identifying abortion-minded people, because oftentimes you might be sidewalk counseling with people coming in for other services or for a medical complex building. So watch for vehicles with young women or people who look pregnant, groups of people, a couple or parents. Not a lot of times you see people going in by themselves. Usually they'll be wearing sweatpants or baggy clothing or even wet hair. A lot of times the abortion business will tell the person to take a shower before they have the abortion. Just looking at that body language, oftentimes closed off or scared, hunched in. They will not be eating or drinking. And honestly, though, my biggest tip I can give you, assume everyone is going in for an abortion. Sometimes you're going to get it wrong. It's embarrassing. Someone's like, I'm 50 years old. I haven't been able to have kids in forever. And then I think and I'm just like, you know what? We're casting a wide net because you don't want to miss anyone. It is a little embarrassing, but eventually you just get over it. Or if you don't get over it, you just lean into it. And you say, oh, no problem. Pass along this information to someone you might know. There you go. Move on. So steps to crisis intervention, you want to make that contact. And oftentimes there are abortion escorts out there at the DC Planned Parenthood, and I know across the country, there are going to be abortion escorts who will try to stop you. And that's why making that contact immediately is important. And sometimes it's that big wave and say, hi, how are you doing? I just want to let you know there's free help for you and your family. You want to have that big smile, over exaggerate your features, make yourself feel welcoming. You want to reduce that anxiety, let them express their feelings. This is a very stressful time. You will have a wide range of emotions, even as if the biggest smile, happiest smile in the world, you're going to be able to see a lot of emotions and sometimes even anger. And that's okay. You have to let the person express their feelings. But then you want to redirect and say, look, I know this is hard. I know this is hard. But how can I help you? What's going on? Is there anything I can do to help you keep your baby today? You want to find out why they are seeking that abortion. And you want to encourage those actions. Listen, you can cancel your appointment today. I promise you it's not too late. Let's just take some time, think it over. You don't have to do it today. Come back. You need some more time to think this through. Let's go to the crisis pregnancy center, see your options. You can always come back, but maybe let's take some more time to think it over, because you want them to leave the area. You want them to leave the area where the killing is happening. And 5, continue to help if possible. Because, a lot of people don't need a lot of hand holding after they choose life. Sometimes they just needed that emotional flashpoint out in front of the abortion facility to give them the courage to continue the pregnancy. Whereas other times they need a lot of hand holding or a lot of mentorship after they choose life. And that's where crisis pregnancies come in. Directing them to over there, because that's what they specifically specialize in. So as Sidewalk counselors, our job is to specialize in the crisis intervention, whereas the crisis pregnancy centers or the pregnancy resource centers, their job is to walk with them throughout the pregnancy. And, ultimately, this person needs to make a decision during the crisis. And our job is to navigate them to where it doesn't lead to violence. Things to remember to you gotta have that smile, make eye contact, be friendly. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be speaking. And then, this is going to come into that point where I said there's going to be, people who sidewalk counsel maybe differently than you. But only one person at a time should speak. And I know it's hard because, someone's about to die, and that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of emotions. And you're just like, oh, I just have that one thing to say. Or I could have said it better. But it really hurts the team as a whole if you try to speak over another person. And, it can get frustrating. I've sidewalk counseled with people who were not self-aware baddies who took up all the speaking time. It was very, very frustrating. And I just wanted to go up to them and go, la, 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 la. But I didn't. I waited until afterwards and after we were out of the surrounding area. And when tensions were cool, when there wasn't someone who was about to die, and I'd say, hey, maybe next time we could tag team and maybe take turns with speaking. Or maybe I can get this corner of the sidewalk and you can get this corner of the sidewalk. And so then we can, be more collaborative in teamwork. But, it does take a lot of self-control, and it does take a lot of, humility to be able to not speak over people. If the person won't stop, just get the literature into their hands. That can extend your sidewalk counseling into the lobby as well. Things to remember: if a person does stop, use those sidewalk counseling resources. So, for example, if they take it, then you'll have another one in your hand and point like, oh, you can call this number, or here's an example, your baby looks like this right now, and point to pictures. Another thing, do not ignore the partner, the support person, or the friends. The people who are going in to taking the person in for the abortion, often they are the key of turning the abortion-minded person around. How can that look like? For example, there's a picture of Kristen Turner talking to the person in the car. And that day, that person, the mom who went in, she chose life. She left. The baby's alive because Kristen Turner and a bunch of us, we went up to the car and we were like, you don't have to do this. Why don't you just text the person who's inside optionline.org, tell her to come out, tell her we can help her. And so it's so important to to reach those support people as well.
All right, so we're going to be kind of transitioning into, this is the big question we get. What do I say?
Yeah, so the next slide, feel free to screenshot, take pictures. We're going to be publishing this later, so of course you can like zoom back and but feel free to screenshot. These are just some things that you want to like remind yourself to memorize in the back of your mind. So then if you feel awkward or you're just new and you don't know what to say, these short repetitive statements can really help you. They're like little attention getters to get the person to come over to you. And honestly, all these phrases encompass the Chicago method: focus on the mom, focus on the baby. It's like throwing the whole kitchen sink. Like if you're pregnant, you're already a mother. There's free local help. This place is dangerous. It sends a lot of people to the hospital. It's okay to leave. You are allowed to cancel your appointment. Your baby's heart is beating. Your baby's heart started beating at 21 days. Your baby loves you. Your baby's heart beats for you. If you see a boyfriend who like has his arm on the girl's elbow, taking her in, call out. No one can force you. You don't have to do this today. You can leave. And there's some debate on if you should say like, don't kill your baby or like things like that. And, I'm very neutral on policing people's actions as long as you're not hurting people, physically hurting people or getting like racist or, out of control. But, I have found a way that is able to speak the truth to the reality of abortion. That is a way that also reconnects mother and child to the situation. And that is very gently saying, you don't have to hurt your baby today. I have found personally that is more effective than saying, don't kill your baby. I think it, once again, to each their own if people do use that language. But, I want to do this strategically and effectively. And I have found saying, you don't have to hurt your baby today. We can help you. You're strong enough to love your baby. It's going to be okay. And, that's what I found. So, people are going to be coming out from their abortion if you stay around long enough. It's sad. It is really sad, but the work's not done, especially with, I think 60% or over half of abortions right now in America are done by pill abortion. It's still not too late. You want to get that information into their hands about abortion pill reversal. And, hey, regardless of your decision today, we want to help you. A lot of people experience a lot of emotions after their abortion. And here are some resources of who you can talk it out to. Because, I think, once again, over half of people who get abortions are repeat abortions. And so if people can, heal from their first abortion, see the reality of abortion, maybe they won't be a repeat abortion. Use that buddy system. It's good to be with other people when you Sidewalk counsel. Obviously for safety and encouragement and increased effectiveness, but, also because there's different personality types, people with different gifts, people with different callings. So for example, I'm more into crisis intervention, where, Teresa, our founder, is definitely more into the community defense. Using amplified sound. So amplified sound often gets a bad rep in Sidewalk counseling because of people's perceived notions of what is good and is not good. But I have found it is very helpful. Go to where the lobby is, get as close to the building as you can, and just have that regular, normal conversation as if you were talking to someone face to face. Be very gentle, soften your voice, and just speak truth and try to help out. And remember, look up that noise ordinance laws and print out 2 copies. Because, once you start using amplified sound, most likely the police will be called. And that's not a bad thing. It's just the reality. We'll now show you some examples.
You don't have to hurt your baby today. We can help you with all kinds of funding. LetThemLive.org.
Malpractice. They have an active and ongoing history of medical malpractice lawsuits.
Other places that can offer free medical care. If it is for an abortion, there are other places that will give you the strength, the ability, the financial help to help you keep your child.
You can get your money back and you can leave. You have the right to leave. If you are at all unsure about giving this institution money to let someone rip off the arms and legs of your unborn child with suction or forceps, you do not have to go through with this.
So, say you're in an area with a noise ordinance. You can use your voice, project your voice. You're able to make your voice very loud without sounding angry and harsh. You want to find out where that lobby is. You want to stretch out your words, and you want to be short and repetitive. I've helped over 800 families choose life, and it's one of the best ways I've been able to do that is continue to call out into the lobby, continuing to sidewalk counsel, be with that mother and that child to the last possible second. Because, if I was about to die, I would hope someone would be calling out to me in that last possible second. And for example, you can do it's not too late. Free help. And so when you can get very, very loud without sounding angry. And I can get very, very loud. There was an abortion facility in Riverside, California. It was a huge parking lot. And, cops were coming because of noise ordinances, but they're like, she's not using an electronic amplifier. She's just using her voice. And they could hear me even inside. It feels silly. It feels silly if you're people are standing right next to you, but when you hear it from big distances or through the walls, it doesn't feel silly. I mean, if it feels silly, just lean into it, embrace it, and just keep going.
Okay, that was a lot.
A
lot of crisis intervention. We're going to kind of transition into that second category that we talked about at the beginning, which is the preventive outreach. So this is kind of what we referenced of outreach on maybe days where they're not performing abortions, or like we talked about, states where they don't have legal abortion. And we're going to talk about some different tactics of what you might do in those situations. So we have a little story about one of our activists, Melanie. She is from Texas, and
she runs our PAAU.
She runs our PAAU account, and she was a sidewalk counselor at a place that she liked to reference as the abortion travel agency, meaning that because abortion was not legal in Texas, people would go there and then be referred out of state to other facilities. And she went there to basically try to intercede and intercept when patients were going to be referred out of state. So she basically acted as a bouncer to people going into that Planned Parenthood looking for abortion referrals. So this is a great example of how to continue sidewalk counseling, even if you live in a state like Texas, a state where they are not performing abortions. It is so critical for you to still be there and show that there are still other options. You don't have to travel to another state to kill your baby. There are other options for you. So this is a really good example. A lot of people will say, well, they're not doing abortions in my state. Guess I don't need to sidewalk counsel. Not true. You don't get out that easy. So this is a really important tactic and something that we really need people to be doing in those abortion-free states. So we'll have more time to talk about that later in the Q&A, but we're going to transition into community defense now. This is another kind of category that we talked about. It looks like a lot of different things, but the general idea is that we all have that communal responsibility to keep each other safe. And keeping each other safe includes the preborn. They are part of our community, and they are people that we need to keep safe as well. So this looks like a lot of different things, but it's really important to understand this concept and use it strategically so that you can continue to keep your community safe.
So basically, the escorts, the people who literally, in any other context, and here's an example of interrupting a conversation and like snatching a piece of paper from someone's hands is rude. That's so rude. And here we are, we're laughing, and it's just like you exaggerating our words and like laughing about it. It demoralizes them. They need to be called out because what they are doing is wrong. They are helping people be killed. And, when they stand in front of your sign, just saying, why are you doing that? Why? Why are you stopping people from getting resources they need? That is not pro-choice. That's pro-abortion. You only believe in abortion. That is wrong. Call them out. They infantilize the people who are going in there. Apparently, they have the self-determination to choose abortion, but they don't have the self-determination to be able to have a conversation. It's very infantilizing, and you need to call them out. You can't just ignore them. Oftentimes I just ignore them. There's this one escort who likes to say, oh, they're protesting. And I'm like, you're right. And I just flow in the conversation. You're right. We are protesting because they've sent a lot of people to the hospital. They're averaging 1 to 3 medical malpractice lawsuits each year. We're protesting that because, you're in really danger. And she doesn't say that anymore. But in essence, we're not, and like, I get it. The whole kill them with kindness, non-violently, or like love them. But we're not here to make friends. We're not. Because we don't view abortion as mean. We view abortion as murder. Our primary focus needs to be on the primary victim of abortion. And the secondary victim of abortion, of course, is the exploited parent. And like through helping them, we help the child, but they're collaborators to a genocide, and they need to be treated as such. This is a tactic and a principle. It can make people uncomfortable because, outside the abortion facilities, we all want to be happy-go-lucky. But if you have someone who is literally taking every single piece of literature from someone's hand, who's literally jumping in front of you, you have to call them out. They have to be demoralized because that behavior is unacceptable. It's unacceptable in any other personal case, but it's especially unacceptable when someone is about to be murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's basically comes down to, it's really important in these situations to act as if the person going inside is in danger, because they are in danger. Even if they're going in for something other than abortion, they are going into a facility that is dangerous. We're going to play another video and a little example of calling someone out. And then you're going to explain the context afterwards, but we'll play this video really quick.
We're out here at Planned Parenthood, and these 2 escorts just helped the guy force his girlfriend into getting an abortion because they don't care about people who are being abused. They don't care about helping women. They only care about protecting the corporation that they work for. So yeah, they're just out here defending abusers. They're defending abusive boyfriends. They full well saw that guy scream at his girlfriend and try and tell her that she had to get an abortion, and they did absolutely nothing except to deny her all of her options. So yeah, take a good look at these people, because these are the people who protect abusers and keep sexual and domestic partner violence alive in this country. And when they go to bed at night, I hope that they...
So that's an example of, once again, Kristen Turner confronting the abortion escorts. What happened was, I was talking to an abortion seeker. She was going in. She said, I can't have this baby with this guy. He's bad news. And I was like, look, we can help you get out of that situation. I've helped people in the past. We can help you too. And then the escort literally And she's like, yeah, let me see it. And I was showing her the locations. And then the escort literally jumps in, takes it out of her hand, and literally like scoots her along with the boyfriend into the building. And it was so horrifying. And then it's just like you're literally seeing this boyfriend screaming at her face, and she's crying. And we all hear these stories, and it's very shameful to see these abortion escorts sacrifice a vulnerable individual to their ideology, and like it has to be called out. And when Turner did that and we posted the video and the video went viral, those two people have never escorted again. They have never been abortion escorts at the DC Planned Parenthood ever again. And that day, they didn't take anybody's information from them anymore. They just stood by the doors, and they didn't talk to anybody, and they didn't try to stop us from sidewalk counseling. And it worked. The demoralization worked. You have to, this is wrong behavior, and it needs to be appropriately and strategically called out. Now, for example, if another abortion-minded person, abortion seeker was walking in, obviously we wouldn't be like doing that type of like calling out. We would be, the crisis intervention is the primary focus. Before the community defense. And so this is how you do it strategically and effectively.
Mm-hmm.
What if I mess up? I'm super nervous. We've all been there. It's not a perfect science. It's literally trying out different methods and see what works for your community. And what is this purple skull? What is this glittery purple skull doing? Well, I always end my sidewalk counseling trainings with this story, because I learned probably one of my most like pinnacle moments. It was like how I viewed sidewalk counseling really shifted in that moment. We were in Southern California, and I go out to this abortion facility. It's my first time. It's in the Inland Empire outside of LA, I think Orange County. I have never seen someone decorate the entire sidewalk surrounding the abortion facility like a haunted house. Like a literal haunted house. Like there was skulls and like the Grim Reaper and ghosties, and like I was like that SpongeBob meme, like, oh, and I was like, and like I was like, I don't know. And then I saw what I thought was like, an old woman praying a rosary in a lawn chair, and I was like, you know what? I just need to go stand by the lady praising the rosary. And so I walk over there. It's a skeleton holding a baby skeleton, and and I was like, what is this? And like the lady who was sidewalk counseling, who like comes an hour early each day to dress up the entire everywhere, on top of her van was a gigantic purple skull that was covered in glitter. It was so campy, and I judged her. And see, this is where it comes in. This is where like I have to be self-aware. I judged her. I said, she's a dumb person. This is dumb sidewalk counseling. She's never gonna save any babies, and everything people like to say when they judge another person. They don't know the person's heart. And I judge them, and I say, this person is a bad sidewalk counselor. And when I literally made that judgment call in my heart, I immediately look over. She's dressed as the Grim Reaper, but I immediately look over, and she convinces someone to choose life. And I was like, okay, wait. And like the record scratch. And then like later on, I talked to her. I'm like, what's going on? Why do you do this? She pulls out a binder, and had a binder full of her holding babies that she had saved over the years. And she was blessed, or she was like rewarded in her diligence, in that commitment and that passion of passionately and vulnerably loving the preborn neighbors. And, I really took it back. And like, I felt, and I apologized for judging her. And I recognized that, maybe glitter skulls and skeletons holding skeleton babies change people's minds. I mean, the proof was in the pudding because, that binder of her holding the cutest babies in the world really showed how wrong I was. And, like I said, it might not work for the DC Planned Parenthood. I personally don't think it would, but
We should try though.
maybe we should try it. But it worked for her community, and it's not a perfect science. What's going to happen in San Bernardino, California, wouldn't happen in, North Hollywood, California, or what would happen at the DC Planned Parenthood would be different from the DuPont Clinic, which is just 2 miles away from the DC Planned Parenthood. You have to, it's not a perfect science. Try out different methods, try out that glitter skull, I don't know. And just, see what works. And, if it doesn't work, try something new. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to mess up, because in those moments, that's where lessons are learned. And, just be humble and just take it easy. And, if you feel silly, good. It's okay. Lean into it. We all feel silly at one point. But, here we go. We're at the end. That just is a quick summary. Just get out on that sidewalk. Just get out on that sidewalk. If you need literature to use for your sidewalk counseling, you can go to our website, and where our shop is, and you can download it for free and print it yourself, or you can order copies that are already printed and we can ship it to you. This piece of literature is it's been an accumulation of my 10 years of using different literature. We designed it to take the best of all the different pieces of literature we've seen. We've made it a size that's easy for people to put in their purse or keep on their hands. So it's harder for the security guards and the escorts to take it away from them. It's clear, clean design. So it's been very effective. There's a blank spot for you to put your local resources or any other information you want.
Yeah, and you can download it for free, like she said, or order it, and we'll send you the nice version. I'll print it out. Awesome. So we're going to transition into some Q&A. So we're going to go over here. I have a couple questions in the chat that I was looking at while we were going. So I'm going to go ahead and start with those. So you can either put them in the comments here, or you can tweet them at us. So we'll look at that. That way other people will know that you are watching this. So I'm going to go ahead and start with one good one that I saw from earlier when we were talking about crisis intervention. So if somebody is there for a different medical procedure, a different reason, what is a good way or a good way to encourage them to go somewhere else? And how do you usually phrase that?
Okay, yeah. So at the DC Planned Parenthood, it's they do other services as well. And we just tell them, maybe you don't have to support a place that hurts women and kills babies for profit. Try going to a different place. Did you know there's other low-cost sliding scale facilities? They're called federally qualified healthcare centers. I would look those up, see where those are. In the DC area, they're called Unity Health. I just say, hey, maybe next time you can try out Unity Health. Not very antagonistic. I know you have an appointment today, but maybe next time you can try Unity Healthcare. It's really great, sliding scale, reproductive healthcare for you and your family. Awesome.
Let's see. Somebody else had asked if somebody does cancel their appointment, will they get their money back? That is a concern.
Say that again?
If someone does cancel an appointment, will they get their money back?
Oftentimes they will get their money back.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When we were in Baton Rouge and Sidewalk Counseling Baton Rouge, they had a policy where they wouldn't give you the first $100 back. And we had a pro-life group who specifically fundraised money to pay that $100. And so we would say, we can refund you that $100. And we had people baby saved because we were able to refund that $100.
Yeah. Okay. What other questions? Oh, here's one. I am Curious how you persuade women who have traveled out of state to your abortion clinic. I'm in Vegas and abortion tourism is way up here.
Mm-hmm. When we were in Baton Rouge, we were seeing people come from Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and I would just be honest with them and vulnerable with them and say, look, I know you spent a lot of money to come up here, but I promise you it's still not too late.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you had to spend all this money, the desperation to want to come so far away from your community, but I bet you there's a lot of places in your community that can help you carry your pregnancy so you don't have to hurt your baby. It's not too late.
Yeah. Question from Twitter. You ready?
Oh.
So when somebody does choose life, if you are able to convince them, what is the best thing to do? To take them to the PRC right away, or schedule a lunch, or do something else? Do you find that there's like one way to do it, or what would you say to that?
It can go a couple different ways. You want to feel the vibes. I know that sounds very silly, but you want to, oftentimes you want to get them on, if you're on the sidewalk, you can walk away from the sidewalk and say, hey, you want to go to the cafe? Maybe we can see if you can get an appointment right now. If you know the crisis pregnancy or pregnancy resource center is doing ultrasounds that day, oftentimes I say, look, do you need help with an Uber? I can help you get an Uber. You want them just away from the abortion facility. So just feel out the vibes. If it's like an immediate, if you think the person can like wait a couple days to go to that crisis pregnancy center, but you want to make that connection. You want to make those heart-to-heart connections. Like, hey, maybe you want to go out to lunch so we can figure out what's going on. I can pay for lunch, or I can pay for your Uber if you want to go to the pregnancy resource center right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is really just sort of feeling out the vibes. I had a situation once where I could just tell that it was gonna be okay to not immediately go with this girl to a PRC. I could tell that she wasn't actually in a huge rush. And so I ended up scheduling a time to go to lunch with her, and that was totally fine. And she ended up keeping her baby, and it was okay to wait a couple days. She actually, I think, appreciated having a couple days to just rest, knowing that I was going to help her later and she was going to be okay. So, but in other situations, you might need to go there right away.
You need to go with them. You might need it. Just, you got to feel out the vibes, even if that sounds cheesy.
Exactly. All right. Any other questions right now? Let's see. I'm looking at the feed. Gonna look at Twitter again. Oh, no, everyone's just chatting.
Everyone's just chatting. Awesome.
All right.
We're really thankful that really thankful for everyone to come today. You know, this is our first YouTube live. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to email us. Our emails are on the website, pawnow.org. You can follow us on social media. We're here for you. We're resources for you. We hope this was helpful.
Yeah. Look out for the recording that's going to be posted. Make sure to send it to people. Feel free to watch it again. Feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Really just taking that first step is really important, getting out there and helping defend your community. So thank you guys for joining tonight. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.